Hey everybody, Tony D with another hot take. This one is on Trump and his coronavirus response. I think his response has been pretty good. I do have some criticisms of it. Um, I think he's acted, in terms of his presentation, he's good. He acts. He doesn't act all high and mighty. I think it's great that he got tested because he actually talked about his experience with the test and how awful it was, and how he's trying to create or they're trying to get a self-test so people don't have to leave their house. Um, and he hopes that it'll be more pleasant than the test he took because apparently it gagged him pretty bad. So uh, it's just very interesting that he is it kind of makes him like a grounded personality when he says stuff like that. Um, he's also very optimistic, which in a time of crisis I think is a good thing. I think it's a good thing that he's very optimistic, that he's very confident that the markets will bounce back, that the country will bounce back, and it will. I agree with him in that point. I mean, I think in 3 or 4 months things will start to turn around and come back. They'll have to. The people may be bummed out about the experience of going through all this. Things will have changed somewhat, and we may even be in a rough spot financially. But I kind of think it'll just go back to normal after a few months because the economy was good. In terms of stocks, yes, the stocks are crashing, but so what? Most of the stuff that's in the stock market in terms of their value is just an illusion. And the fact that everybody's being hit by this means that later, when everything's ramping up again, everybody will benefit. If you got some, I can't give you financial advice legally over YouTube, and I'm not a financial advisor, so I just, in my view, if I had money, I would buy some stocks, but I don't have any money right now, so I'm not going to pour any money in stocks. I need it to live. Um, so, seems to be if you had some extra money lying around, might be a good idea, but what do I know? Anyhow, um, so I think it's good that he's very positive. The downside of Trump's press conference today was the announcement that he's or the Congress is going to give him this power to centralize the economy a little more in the manufacturing base in a time of crisis. I'm very wary of that. I don't think it's a good idea to give anybody that power, even Trump, who seems reluctant to take it, which is a good sign. But my worry is this could set some sort of precedent. He may abuse that power to some degree, or he may just say, well, as long as I'm fixing the country with coronavirus, well, let me fix our manufacturing base and get some more factories over here for the things I think we need. I don't think he should be doing that. And I don't think, but you'll notice that the people who have been calling Trump Orange, leader of the Germans in World War II, the people who are screaming what a tyrant Trump is, the people who said, oh my gosh, what a horrible man to put in charge, he's going to kill us all. Oh, they're all perfectly fine with giving him, we're going to give him power? Why, yes, that sounds wonderful. Let's give him power. Even Biden and Sanders are lining up to say, yes, give Trump more power. Of course. Why wouldn't you? It shows you their real side. It shows you what they're really concerned about. What they're concerned about is power. Of course they're lining up to give Trump more power because that's power they hope to get one day. That is power they hope to be near enough to get some. And it's power that we may not get back. So I would be extremely wary of this. I hope Trump seems like the guy to end the crisis and go back to normal in a few months. But this thing drags on, and that could make it worse. Who knows what's going to happen? I don't like it. I wouldn't approve of it. Rand Paul is jamming up the works again, doing something sort of borderline libertarian by insisting on some restraint in terms of giving out money by the federal government, so we don't pee it away on people who maybe aren't citizens or maybe don't deserve it or whatever. And of course, people were like, oh no, oh Rand Paul, you're always such a spoil sport. You know, as a libertarian, I'm against giving out that money, even though it's going to be hard on people. We have unemployment insurance, first off. So giving out money on top of that seems excessive. If you have unemployment insurance, you're going to be on unemployment for a few months. And then hopefully at the end of 3 months, the economy is going to start bouncing back and people will start hiring again. This idea that we got to stoke the economy now, to me, it's too early. It's too early to stoke the economy. What's the point of stoking the economy? Who is going to take out a business loan now? For what? What business are you going to start in the middle of the coronavirus? You're gonna start a face mask business, a business for what? I mean, after it's over, certainly that would make sense. While we're just starting it, while we're not even in the middle of this thing, they're saying that it's not going to peak for 45 days. Why would you drive down the interest rate to practically nothing in an attempt to spur industry? There won't be any industry for 2 months. That's what you have to look at. I mean, people are just going to lose money. Bailing out the airline industry? No, I do not agree with that at all. I think, sure, put a freeze on their flights in terms of, so people don't lose their place for the next 2 months. Just put a freeze on that and say, oh, you can't steal somebody's, flight path because these companies work very hard to get them. They don't want to lose them in the days of crisis. You should just put like a 2-3 month moratorium on it and say, okay, nobody loses a flight path for 3 months, and then at the end of that, we'll go back to the normal system. I'm not hearing a lot of that. That's the problem. I'm not hearing like we're going to go back to normal yet. So that worries me. It worries me that Trump went along with this. It worries me that everybody in Congress is suddenly getting along and kissing Trump's butt. See, this was the worry with Trump I had from the beginning. I said the problem is not Trump is going to be president. The problem will be when Trump starts getting along with everybody. That's when you have to start being wary, because who's keeping him in check? So far, it's early. It's too early to say, hey, are there some abuses here? Although we should be looking into everything, but who is? Who is? The media's big important thing at the press conference was, oh, you called it the Chinese virus. Do you consider that racist, sir? I mean, what a stupid point of questioning. This came up like 3 times during the press conference, pressing him over and over again. Well, your colleague said that they wouldn't use that term, but you're using that term. Isn't that racist to certain people? It's offensive, blah, blah, blah. Thankfully, Trump just said no and brushed it off, went to the next thing. And he did it like 3 times. So that's good. But the fact that our media, that was a concern for them. They should be concerned with much more important things. And they're just not. They just don't care. That was for rage clicks. Good luck. I hope your whole website goes down, you trying to push that stupid story. It was disgusting to see. It's called the Chinese virus or the Wuhan virus because it originated in China and in Wuhan. That's it. That's what we named the viruses after. It's been that way for hundreds of years, literally. So shut up and stop asking that question like anyone cares. No one cares. No one cares except, the woke. And I'm glad to see the woke, at least, getting their butts handed to them in this crisis, because no one wants to put up with that nonsense when we got this on our plate. So overall, I would say that Trump, once again, handled himself well, said the right things, seems to be doing mostly the right things. He hasn't used the act yet to do anything, or, there is sort of a drive to ramp up production of certain medical items, which is a good thing. I'm not saying he shouldn't do something with that power now that he has it, but we have to watch that very carefully, because if that turns, look, the Bernie supporters couldn't beat Trump. The question you have to ask yourself, are they turning Trump into Bernie? Look at what he's proposed: giving away money, centralizing manufacturing. Those are two things Bernie Sanders would love to do. Nationalizing things and stuff like that. I don't think Trump's going to do that. So far, he's been very pro-capitalism during this entire crisis. So I'm not suggesting that he's planning this. I'm suggesting that he might fall into a bad pattern. He might start something that, although he doesn't intend to, it becomes a national precedent, and then we're stuck with it forever. I don't want to see that happen. I want to see him handle the crisis, set things up, and then as the crisis ends, dismantle it and go back to normal. Go back to where we were. We have to keep an eye on Trump. For whether you support Trump or not, those of you who don't support Trump, obviously you're keeping an eye on him because you want to tear him to pieces. But for those of you who support Trump, understand, you're doing him a favor by keeping him on his toes. And I'm not saying be against him. I'm saying watch and be concerned. Look at what he does with a critical eye. Not to tear him down, but to help him, to constructively criticize him. Because that is why Barack Obama was a terrible president. The people around him who could have given him constructive criticism just kissed his butt and called it ice cream because he was the first black president and they were too afraid to criticize him. And that hurt his presidency tremendously. I think Barack Obama could have been a great president if he had been challenged. I mean, he's not a stupid guy, but he wasn't challenged. And at the end of the day, that challenge is what he needed to motivate himself in the right way. Trump has been challenged at every turn. And that is to the credit of the people who challenge him. I think a lot of times they challenge him for stupid reasons, merely to tear him down. But that constant pressure hones Trump's skills. And I think it's made him a better president, quicker. It's like an evolution that's been accelerated with him. Because I think, in the beginning he was floundering around. But he learns just like anybody does. And he has tried things and set things up. And he's been open to other people trying things and creating things. So, yeah. So I'm not too happy about this whole centralization things. But we must hold Trump's feet to the fire that it is a very, very temporary situation. When this crisis is over, and it should be over in 2 or 3 months, or start to wind down, we have to make sure he winds down those powers and gives them all back. Because we don't want a situation where Trump or any president has that kind of power.